Different species, different languages. And to combat this deficiency, Star Trek created the Universal Translator, which gives practically everyone in the Star Trek universe the ability to easily converse with one another.
This device, it's able to translate over 1,000 languages.
But the real question is, does it make sense? Hello and welcome to another episode of Does That Make Sense? A Star Trek themed web series that discusses various odd or inconsistent Trek topics brought up over the years by you, this channel's audience. Today's video is all about the Universal Translator, a necessary device so that we, the audience, and the characters we love on screen can interact without issues on Star Trek. As always, I'll be playing devil's little advocate about this topic in order to foster amazing discussions in the comment section below. So without further ado, let's dive in and ask the simple question, does that make sense? Let me paint a scene for you. A Klingon walks up to the great Captain James T. Kirk in a bar and says, "I demand vengeance. I'm going to kill you for killing my brother during the Battle of Troyes." Captain Kirk turns around, looks at the Klingon directly in the eyes as the background music builds to a crescendo and says, "Sorry, what? I can't understand you." Suddenly, a scene that could provide us all with scant wedding tension loses all its power. Okay, so the Universal Translator is a necessity in Star Trek, created to allow our heroes and the audience, of course, to know exactly what is being said without pause or inquiry. I think we can all agree that without it, Star Trek would be horribly uninteresting and a huge mess. Look at Season 1 of Star Trek Discovery. Now, putting aside a change in the looks of the Klingons themselves, the constant use of subtitles angered a lot of fans. I heard and got that as a constant complaint in the early days of that series. So just imagine if every alien of the week had the same issue. Star Trek probably wouldn't have lasted through its first season. The Universal Translator is truly a marvel in universe as well. I mean, a few words, a phrase or two, and suddenly every alien can speak with inflection and emotion to our characters. And what's best of all, their mouths even change to be pronouncing the English words. Truly an amazing piece of technology. Okay, I'm being a bit facetious here, but really it is amazing. It works on the principle that every language operates more or less along the same set of rules, and the more languages added to the translator's database, the more complex the algorithms become to allow even more complex languages to be translated on a whim. It's really a bit of science fiction that we overlook because of its necessity. Believe it or not, real-world scientists are working on such a device, but most agree, at least presently, that such a device would never be able to exist because it works under the false premises that most language structures will have a common root to translate from, which they don't. What I mean is, the various Klingon languages developed over a millennia on Kronos have nothing in common with French, for example. There are no universal laws to the development of language, and so right there, the UT just fails in reality. But
this isn't reality. This is fantasy.
And as such, in universe, the Universal Translator almost seems like a god at times. Remember the TOS episode Metamorphosis? In that episode, Captain Kirk waved his little translator at a bunch of lights and suddenly they spoke.
Your impulses are illogical. This communication is useless.
But do I buy that in universe? Well, I guess I have to, as it happened, and it's canon. But then, that episode does beg the question, if the Universal Translator is so advanced it can create a language from disco lights, why does it have so many issues other times? Take the Deep Space Nine episode Sanctuary, for example. That's the one where an alien species known as the Skria show up on the station and the Universal Translator has one heck of a time translating their language.
Ubiatal? Ubiatal. Ki tamasute. Shalanta skria.
It's actually the way I believe the translator should work, at least to make it more of a believable piece of technology. But the problem here is that the translator has any issues at all translating that language, which is sound-based, but has less issues translating light patterns. Maybe the Skria should have brought their flashlights. Maybe then the translator would have had less problems. And before you say, oh, it's a Cardassian computer, that's why, that excuse doesn't fly at all. I mean, if you believe that Starfleet didn't update the information in the Cardassian computer, okay, fine. But we already know that comm badges have their own equally as remarkable UTs built directly into them. So every Starfleet comm badge should have been picking up and translating the Skrian language to Federation Standard post-haste. Episodes like Voyager's The Swarm have the same type of issue.
Harry, how are you coming with the Universal Translator?
I'm working on it.
Let's see if they might be able to understand us.
Channel is open.
You can't have the UT performing miracles one week and then suddenly have it failing to do something much easier the next. The Kelvin timeline in the movie Star Trek Beyond took an interesting approach to the Universal Translator. And again, it's a way that makes it far more believable realistically. Having the subject aliens speak their language and the computer simulating that alien's voice and translating it for the audience.
Language analysis complete.
Is this working? We were on a science mission inside the nebula.
I have to say that watching that scene for this video reinforced my belief that the Universal Translator can provide an element of drama that goes way beyond, see what I did there? The type of drama that a scene like that would normally have in Star Trek. It provided an extra layer of creepiness to that scene along with the believability. But I also have to admit that having that type of interaction every week with the various different species would get annoying pretty quickly. It's actually surprised me a lot at how many of you have taken issues with that piece of technology. Personally, I've always been okay with how the Universal Translator is and how it works, aside from the few plot point issues where it's treated like a god in order to resolve a storyline. But the question is, what do you think? Do you think the Universal Translator's capabilities are oftentimes overplayed? What version of how the UT works do you prefer? What annoys you the most about this amazing piece of technology? Well, leave your thoughts and ideas in the comments section below. I'm looking forward to reading what you have to say. But for now, live long and prosper.
These will be your quarters while you're here at the station. I'm sure you want to rest and clean up, and you don't understand anything I'm saying, do you?
Zula ku kadoso kaji.
I'm sorry, I still don't understand.
Batak ramasata.
Go on, keep talking.
Havufota, save them.
Save them? How? Do you understand what I'm saying? Keep talking.
We are the Skria. My people need your help. There's no time to waste.
Your people are the Skria. You need our help. There's no time to waste.